This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:34 on the Tuesday after Labor Day. Hope everyone had a fantastic time over the holiday and got to relax a little bit. Now it's full speed ahead to the work week and also to midterm elections. This is kind of the official start of the final push for elections with 63 days to go. Coming up, we will talk with spokesman from the Senate campaigns, Eric Dorey with the Mark Pryor for Senate, and David Ray, Communications Director for Congressman Tom Cotton, on what they will have on their agenda in the next few weeks leading up to midterms. Right now, we are going to join Blake Rutherford, and we talk with him every other week to get a take on his column that runs in Arkansas Business. This week, his article is entitled Armed and Dangerous in Ferguson. Blake joins us this morning. Blake, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Alice.
And Blake, your column here is excellent for several reasons. You're looking at the Ferguson shooting, and of course, we all know this is the tragic shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown, an unarmed black teenager, at the hands of Darren Wilson, a white police officer. And the shooting clearly started a series of protests and outrage amongst those in the Missouri town. But you call attention to the police response and hit it the nail on the head. Ferguson was no longer a community. It was a war zone. And you say that due to the fact that the military response and the police response in such military gear.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think one of the very interesting dynamics that evolved in the aftermath of what is a very tragic situation was the escalation of armament by local police. Alice, we're used to seeing our local police forces in a specific kind of uniform with certain weaponry and vehicles serving in a peace function, policing our communities. But in Ferguson, as the civil unrest grew, and it did. I mean, there was a dramatic escalation there, and certainly anyone watching television or reading a newspaper saw the images of that escalation. The police force in Ferguson transformed itself optically and practically into what appeared to be a military force armed with a wide array of military-grade weaponry, weapons they received from the United States government through a program that was put in place back in the late 80s or early 1990s to combat the drug wars, and has since grown all the way through 9/11. So through the Clinton and Bush presidencies, the program grew. And so you saw the cops in Ferguson with all sorts of gear, things that we're not used to seeing on our streets, things that we're not used to seeing deployed on our citizens, things that really raise the stakes when you're talking about the balance between protecting a community and providing for a means to peacefully protest. And there's a very, very important balance there, Alice, and I certainly, make clear that the events in Ferguson by no means are suggestive of, the way that other police forces, may or may not respond. But it raises a question of what kinds of tools do our local police have? What sort of training do we have in place for the deployment of those tools? How are judgment calls being made? And then what effect does it have on the citizenry? And I think that's one of the offshoots of the circumstance in Ferguson that didn't get as much attention that I wanted to focus on.
And as you indicated, the equipment was made available through actually there are 8,000 law enforcement agencies around the country that participate in this National Defense Authorization Act program where this equipment is available to police departments. And it is, as you indicated, it causes concern, but the program is there. You have the American Civil Liberties Union has called attention to this, saying American policing has become unnecessarily and dangerously militarized in large part through this federal program. So Blake, your thoughts? I mean, is this something that needs to be changed? How should it be addressed?
Well, I think we have to look at the circumstances of each community. You know, one of the people that I cited in my piece, the former New York Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly, said, "Look, it's not really a matter of the weapons, but where they're housed and how they're deployed." And his recommendation was to stockpile them at the state level and then deploy the actual weapons on a case-by-case as-needed basis, rather than just having them live in local law enforcement, some of these very small towns without certain kinds of training, and then deployed at just the discretion of the police chief, as it was in Ferguson. And so I think there's a consideration of why are the weapons being procured, and then what are the needs for them. I think that's the first question we have to ask, Alice. And then I think the second question is, what controls do we have in place so that we ensure that this type of thing doesn't happen unnecessarily, because it escalates everyone's, blood pressure, so to speak.
Right.
You start to see that stuff on your streets, Alice, and it's not just the ACLU. I mean, the Conservative Heritage Foundation, Rand Paul, in a very passionate op-ed, which I linked to in my piece, really has concerns about the militarization of our police force. So it's an interesting issue, Alice, that seems to bridge the left and the right. But I think there are questions we have to ask, and I think the president's asking them on the national level about the program and how these weapons are distributed. I think Arkansas is in a unique position because it's receiving a lot of these weapons as well, and you
right.
can go look. That data is available to you, and I'll link to it.
Right.
But Pulaski County alone, and that's not the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office or the police department. It's not segmented. We don't know where those weapons are. But if you just look at what's being procured throughout the county, it's pretty remarkable. And so I think there's a conversation to be had locally, both in community by community, but at the state level too, Alice.
I agree, and it's something that clearly this federal program was put in place for a reason. But as you say, looking at exactly what is available in these communities here in Pulaski County, it does cause concern. I encourage folks to go to arkansasbusiness.com and see this. You can see exactly what he's referring to and what has been acquired here in Arkansas. 69 of the 75 counties acquiring this equipment. Blake, we appreciate you and look forward to talking soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will take a closer look at what's ahead in the race for U.S. Senate, touching base with the U.S. Senate campaigns of Mark Pryor and Congressman Tom Cotton right after this. This segment of the Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing, 1-866-PLUMBER, or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.